Welcome back to Tutorial Tidbits and welcome to my channel. I'm Elizabeth St. Hilaire and this week I am playing with acrylic inks. Woohoo! Really bright colors, really fun colors, metallics, teals, purple, ta-da! Who's not fan of those colors? What am I doing with acrylic inks? Well, I'm doing something that I said I would never do. Anyone who has taken a workshop from me in person knows that I have always said I am not painting tissue paper. And I said that because tissue paper is fragile, and when you add a bunch of water to it, it's even more fragile. But I've been experimenting with painting tissue, a very special tissue, this tissue. This is from Amazon, and it has a golden copper type of irregular organic polka dot pattern, and I love that. Instead of being very rigid and segmented like bubble wrap, this has got a lot of pizzazz. Anyway, I'm going to use this and a little bit of deli paper because, as you know, I've also told you, deli paper is translucent, but it's a little sturdier than tissue. But anyway, I've got some plans for some tissue and some deli and some bold acrylic inks. And I think you're gonna love the results. So make sure you stay to the end of the video where I fan them all out for you because I've got several different things going on. And if you've got a few minutes, let's go check it out. I am playing with Amsterdam Acrylic Inks in the studio with a really cool ultrafine mist water sprayer. This is something new to me. Rather than just the pump spray, this atomizes it and comes out like a mist, a real fine mist. And then I've also got some tissue with metallic pattern that I purchased on Amazon. So what I really like about this tissue with the gold metallic dots is that they are not uniform. You can see that they're irregular and they're an irregular pattern. So they're sort of way more organic than your traditional dot, 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 dot metallic tissue. So I really love this for this technique, as well as for wrapping gifts and for using on the gel plate. So it's a great tissue all the way around. And all the products for this lesson will be linked in the information box below. So this is 24 pieces of tissue, so that'll keep you busy for a little while. And then I've got just a kitchen garbage bag over some cardboard. I'm using a priority mail box that someone sent me that I took apart and flattened. So just some cardboard so that you can then take it out of the way and set it out in the sun to dry, and then maybe bring in another one on your work surface. So the first thing I'm going to do is crumple this up. And what I really like about the metallic dots in this tissue is that they shine through, and the acrylic ink sort of resists off of them. So you won't lose your metallic dot pattern even if you put dark colors in this tissue process. So I've got it crumpled, and the crumples aren't really going to stay that long once I get it wet with the mister. And the mister just, you know, makes this really nice fine mist and gets the whole paper sort of evenly dampened. So then I'm going to sort of press it down and increase the crinkle effect. So I want it to be crinkled. I want it to take this paint in inconsistent ways so that it'll be thicker and thinner and perhaps show up some of the veining lines of the crinkle marks. So I'm just trying to get it damp and sort of crinkle it up. And I've also got a bucket of water with a soft brush. So I'm just gonna, this is such a fine mist of water. It doesn't soak it, but it definitely lightly coats it. And that allows me to sort of control the amount of water that goes on this a little bit more. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. So the fluid inks, the acrylic inks by Amsterdam. They're very, very liquidy. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the eyedropper that's included and drizzle it. Look at that beautiful magenta. This is Permanent Red Violet Light. And I'm just going to drop it and drizzle it right into the tissue, sort of randomly. Now, those of you who know me know that I say that I don't like painting tissue because it is so fragile. But this is sort of a way to avoid that, so I'm not lifting it when it's wet. I'm just going to leave it on this cardboard with the kitchen garbage bag, and I'm going to take it outside and put it in the sun. So now I can spray it again to help that color move, and you'll see the metallic dots are coming through that acrylic ink as they will. So that's the beautiful thing about this metallic dotted tissue. Now I'm going to come in, I'm going to stay with warm colors. So I'm going to be using the, woo, I didn't put the lid on that very tight. Oh, yay. All right. Put some on my fingers in the bucket, clean my fingers and add some more water. Okay. I'm also using Azo Orange, and I'm going to bring in a metallic, and the metallic that I'm using is pewter. Okay. Okay, we're going to have a lot of water on this by the time we're done. So that's, again, why I want to have the cardboard under the trash bag. Because if you're moving it off your surface so that you can do another one, you have to have something rigid to keep this flat. Otherwise, it's all going to fold in on itself. Okay, so here's the Azo Orange, which I thought, because it's another warm color, would look really magical with the magenta. And again, I'm just randomly squirting it onto the paper. You want to make sure you get out into the edges. Don't just concentrate in the middle. And kind of just dripping it everywhere. It's real warm out today, so this should be dry pretty quick. That's what's nice about summer for this project. Okay, so remember to put your lids on tight. And then my last color, pewter. They also make gold and copper, but I just thought I would try something a little different this time because I'm often working with gold and copper, and the pewter is a bit like a silver. It will lend a metallic tint to the other colors, and it will be complementary to the copper pattern in this paper. I think it's more of a copper metallic than a gold, maybe somewhere in the middle, the dots that come on the paper. Okay, so now I've got my brush with a lot of water, and I'm just going to sort of dab it and help these colors to blend together a little bit by adding water and sort of pushing the paper around, maybe increase the wrinkles, flatten it out a little bit. I don't want to mud all this color together, so I'm sort of dabbing because I want the colors to be individual as well as blended. So here we're getting some nice veining as the wrinkles get pressed down onto the trash bag. And I really like that pewter color, the way that it is making sort of the other colors metallic, and the way that it looks with the gold / copper dots that are already on the tissue. Okay, so now I've done two things with this watery brush. I've spread it out a little bit, and I've gotten it down onto the paper, and I've added even more water. I mean, down onto the trash bag. So I've gotten it down onto the trash bag. I've introduced a lot more wrinkles, and I've added even more water. So I'm going to crumple this up a little bit more so it stays on the size of the box underneath. There we go. So now I feel like I need some more magenta sort of out around the edges. It's sort of concentrated in the middle. So I'm going to come back and add more magenta. And you just have to play with this, how much color you add and how much you allow it to blend together and how much you keep it separate. But the effect for collage when this dries, even though it's a little bit slower of a process than gel printing, it's going to offer us a paper that is very, very different. And that is the key, because with collage, I never want to collage with all the same papers. Like I would never make a full collage out of just rice paper gel prints because I want a little variety, visual variety. So that is why I add book pages and sheet music and old maps and text. And for that reason as well, this is going to be a really appealing, interesting paper because it's going to be quite different than the gel prints. So I'm just sort of, again, dabbing it with this brush. And I think I'm going to add a little bit more pewter to the middle because there's a big concentration of magenta in there, or it's actually called permanent red violet light. And then the orange, I think, as well. I'll bring a little bit more of that in. And then I'll come back in with the brush and just dab. Not brushing, but just dabbing, adding some more water, letting it blend a little bit. And this is just getting more beautiful by the minute. And I think it's the metallic that I like, the way that it's adding color. So I'm going to look and see if there's any places that don't have much color or a concentration of one color in one area, not another. I'm trying to sort of just smooth this out, blend this out evenly, even disbursement. Okay. So there we go. And again, you can see those beautiful metallic dots. That irregular, beautiful metallic dot pattern is starting to show through. And this is starting to look wonderful already. I'm going to put it out in the sun to dry. So it's 103 degrees here in Sacramento, 103. And so there's good news and bad news on that. The bad news is that I'm in the garage studio where it's hot. And if I put the fan on, you can hear it. So I'm out here taking one for the team. The good news is that the paper, no matter how wet it is drying out there in about 5 minutes. So we have immediate results. You may have to wait overnight, but I've got this done in 5 minutes. And while that's drying, I thought that we could also try the effect with deli paper. As much as I love tissue, it's something I don't use that frequently in my work because it's fragile. But once it has a layer of acrylic ink in it, that's going to give that tissue paper some extra added strength because it's going to be coated in the ink and it is going to give it more body and strength. But deli paper has more body and strength right out the gate. So I wondered what it would look like to do this on deli paper, crumpled up, and what kind of different effects we would get, because of course the deli paper doesn't have that beautiful metallic dot pattern on it, but we could make some interesting color with this. So I've got 3 sheets crumpled. Well, I've really only got room for 2 here, so let's just go with that. And this time I'm going to go with cool colors. So I'm going to spray it down and crumple it a little bit again, push everything sort of more towards the middle. And then I've got some turquoise green Amsterdam Acrylic Ink, some olive green light, and some ultramarine violet. So this time we'll use the cool colors and see how they take to the deli paper as opposed to the tissue. So there's the teal, which I think is going to look great with this olive green light. What's nice about the pewter is it's a little neutral, actually. So it's a metallic that goes well with warm or cool colors. Okay, so I'm going to add the purple to the second sheet. Let's do the same thing with this. We're just going to dab it with some more water and sort of just let it swirl together. I'm going to add some more of the teal. Now I can pick this up, the deli paper, and move it around because it's less fragile than tissue. So we'll see how that looks. And actually, I was interested to see how it would look if I pressed the 2 of them together. That was one thing I was considering on playing with the tissue, but again, it's a little fragile. So what if we press them together, pull them apart, and then put the wrinkles back in. That sort of gave me a nice sort of solid blend by pressing them together that way. Now, I've never done this before. Most people will figure out what they're doing in the video before they do the video, but I wanted it to sort of be spontaneous with the deli paper anyway. I've definitely done the tissue, but I thought, well, what about the deli paper? Because it's also translucent, and it's usually what I use in lieu of tissue. So here we go. So it's a little muddy, but it's not muddy. I mean, the colors are blending together, but we don't have mud because we stayed with cool colors. If we had done something warm, like permanent red, violet, light, and had also green, the olive green light, when we blended them together, it would turn brown and muddy because these are opposite colors, a warm one and a cool one. So I'm staying in cool, and we're keeping things interesting. So now I'm going to add the ultramarine violet, at least. Oh, wow, that looks beautiful with the green. So we're going to put that right over that green that I created. And you can still see bits of teal in it. And a little bit, all of it is informed by the metallic. So let's come back in and put the pewter and the turquoise green. And these I'm not going to blend in. I'm going to let these be kind of marbly and blobby on top of that background that I blended by pressing them together. So we've got sort of an interesting, almost like the Italian marble effect. So I'm going to come back in with a little bit more of the pewter. And so now I'm just going to let this dry with the drizzled look on top, which is a little bit different than brushing and blending it together. So we'll set it out to dry and see what happens. So I just put these out in the sun for about 10 minutes here in California, and I just want to show you that the tissue, even though it was soaked color all through and so wet, it's just going to peel right off of this white kitchen garbage bag real easy. So that's what you want it to be on, is plastic. And it peels off, and you have this beautiful sheet with all that glorious color and gold spots from that organic, interesting size and shape of the dots and the acrylic inks. So we can smooth these out to a certain degree. You could pull them all the way out flat, I think. You'd have to play with it, but for collage, I'd be tearing it up, and I actually really like the texture that is in the paper. I think that would be beautiful in the collage application. So that's one from the tissue, and then I want to show you the same thing with the deli paper. This came out really interesting, and it also is gonna peel off carefully. And there you have it, a really nice, heavily marbled couple of sheets here. They stuck together. And just tear them apart. So again, some beautiful color. This is the turquoise green with the permanent red violet light and a bit of the ultramarine violet. So that's a little bit of cool and warm colors. And the key to this with the cool and the warm is when I blended the magenta with the teal, I ended up with what was very, very similar to the ultramarine violet. So the key to getting these two colors to be separate is to not brush your water across everything. It's just sort of to dab it and kind of leave the colors so that they don't completely blend with one another. That takes a little bit of practice. So instead of brushing a lot of water, you just want to dab it in the magenta color and then dab it in the teal color and then just sort of let them sit without blending them together too much. So the amount of brushing takes a little bit of practice, but look at those and how beautiful they came out in those great purples. So the other color, the combo that I did with the deli paper on this one, this is the one that I pressed together to create that solid kind of greenish gold, and then I drizzled and I didn't brush. So these are more marbled because I didn't brush and I just let them meander on the paper on their own. So that's the pewter and the ultramarine violet and the turquoise green and this fantastic olive green light color. And so that marbling without brushing at all, but working on the solid lower layer of light green, those came out really spectacular. And then I want to show you, here's the first one that I did where I brushed a lot. I had a lot of pewter, which I love, but pewter is a little bit opaque. So it's blocking the polka dots a little bit, but it sure is giving this a beautiful shine. So even though we don't see the polka dots through the pewter as well as we do through the purple and the non-metallic colors, that shine that it's giving is awful nice. And then this one I did with the ultramarine violet and the permanent red violet light. And I did blend them together quite a bit. So you just see sort of those two colors in a soft blend. And there's no metallic in this one. You can really see how the metallic polka dots really stand out on this from that beautiful paper that we use underneath. The color just rolls off of the metallics and the colors are blending really nicely together. So there's that. And the next one is another version of the, this one has the Azo Orange and the Permanent Red Violet Light, and it's also got the pewter metallic. So the pewter, again, is giving this, the whole thing, a beautiful shine and some great texture. And like I said, we can flatten this all out. For collage, I'm interested to glue it down with its texture, but you can also come and flatten this out and you get the beautiful veining effect from how it was crinkled when we painted it. So when you smooth this out, you're going to get some real interesting effects, whether you choose to do it flat or smoothed. So you can really see some interesting effects in that surface texture. And then the last one that I did with the polka dotted tissue, this one is the olive and the turquoise and the pewter. So this has metallic, but I didn't brush the metallic quite as thoroughly in this one. So you can see a little bit of that sort of marbled effect that I had on the Deli paper because I brushed it a little bit less. And again, when you smooth it out, you really get that interesting veining pattern in the way that the colors took to the surface, along with the polka dots and the marbling of the couple of different colors. So these are going to make some beautiful collage papers. These are the Amsterdam Acrylic Inks, a small sampling of color. I think the atomizing water spritzer made a big difference, but you could definitely try it with the pump spritzer. And crinkling and letting it dry. So another successful tutorial tidbit for something new that we've never covered before. So I have to say, these papers, the whole range of them are spectacular and beautiful, and I just love the metallic polka dots and the way that they show through the acrylic ink. So I had a great time creating these papers for you, doing something I said I would never do. I swore I would never do it, and here I am doing it. So maybe we should never say never. That's all for me. I'll be back again next Friday, and I'll see you back here next week.